So in this lesson, I'm going to teach you a very interesting recipe, the Fatless vanilla sponge, and these kind of cakes, which are the fatless versions that we kind of use it with eggs, are specifically meant to soak up a lot of liquid, and these are mainly used for soaking in sugar syrup and to be used in layered cakes where we can infuse a lot of flavors into the filling. So the cake by itself is going to be quite subtle, and obviously we are going to flavor it with vanilla, but then they form a base for any kind of flavor that we could infuse into the filling. So it could be the fruity or the caramel or coffee or any kind for that matter could be infused. So this is one important technical recipe, but later on I'll be telling you how we could use this technically in different other areas. But in this course we are specifically going to use it for making the tres leches, and obviously the capacity of how much milk can one cake. So you can't be using like any cake to soak it with the milk or sugar syrup for that matter. But this is one cake that is going to absorb as much liquid that is being poured and then retain it. The retention capacity of the sponge is also very important. So the sponge has to be light while it can take in all the syrup or the liquid that is being poured and then retain it. So when you're going to cut and eat, it's going to have all the liquid absorbed in it, and that is the best thing of the entire dessert, to eat that cake at the end. Okay, so let's start doing it. I have the ingredients. It is a set of simple ingredients here, but then the technique is to beat the yolk separately with half of the sugar. I have them combined here. Now if you're not sure how much is half of one portion of the sugar that you measure out of the ingredients, you could divide them equally into two separate bowls. So I'm going to use half of it with the yolk and then beat it till it reaches ribbon consistency, thick and pale. And then with the whites, I'm going to add the other half of the sugar and then make meringue and then keep that separately. And then I have the flour and the sugar. So you can see there is no fat and there is no leavening agent as well, and that's why I said it is very interesting recipe. So the salt gets sifted with the all-purpose flour, and I'm going to keep it aside. And then we have three different components, which is the yolk, sugar, thick ribbon consistency mixture, the whites, meringue, and then the flour, and then finally I'm going to fold them together. No over folding, and we'll have a thick batter that we'll just bake it in one pan. So we just need one taller cake into which we are going to soak the syrup at the end. Okay, so now I'll start with beating the yolk and the sugar, before which we could just sift the dry, just nothing but the flour, the salt, I'm just going to get a KitchenAid bowl fitted with paddle attachment. So into the bowl, I'm going to add the yolk, I'm just going to beat the yolks until it is broken down, and then I'm going to add the sugar a little at a time, and it's the half of sugar that I have measured, and I will beat until I have the ribbon consistency. So I'm going to beat it on medium high speed. going to check how it looks. It's turned pale. I just wanted to get thicker than this. So I'm just going to pop it back. And then continue beating this on high speed, maybe for another 2 more minutes. So it's further thickened down. I'm going to check if I have the ribbon consistency. Okay, so that's how it looks like. You kind of fold in, and then the ribbon stays there for a while, and then it kind of disappears. So that's the texture we are looking at. Just going to keep this bowl aside. Then I'm going to start with beating the egg whites. So I'm adding egg whites into the bowl. And in the stand mixer, fit the balloon whisk, the wire whisk. If you're using a handheld beater, you could be doing, the best thing to do is to beat the whites first in a bowl of stainless steel. So you don't have to use the plastic, because plastic will be having leftover stains of the fat that was used before washing. And now you will finish beating the egg whites in a clean, dry stainless steel bowl or a glass bowl with the same beater. Then set it aside, and with the same beater you could start beating the yolks. I do it this way. Now if you have the choice of beating with another beater blade and a bowl, beating the egg whites at the end is preferable, because we don't have to keep the meringue waiting. But however, if you have only the hand beater to do, then you don't have a choice. That little bit of dryness is going to be there because the meringue dries, and then the outer crust of the cake alone looks dry in that case, which is definitely okay, because we could just remove the crust and then use the cake. Okay, so I'm just going to beat this, wait until the egg whites get frothy, and then I'm going to add the sugar a little at a time until I have a super glossy, anywhere between soft to stiff peaks stage of the meringue. Just want to check and show how it looks. You don't have to open at the stage, but to just show how the frothy whites look. You can see I've just changed the spatula. You can't be using the same spatula in which I was just holding in and then checking on the yolk, because that much fat is just going to deflate your meringue. So this much of frothy whites that you beat, and that's when you can start adding the sugar. And don't add the sugar when the egg whites haven't frothed up at all. going to check. It looks good, but I'm just going to show how the peaks look. It is quite soft at this stage. I'm going to let it run again. I'm going to add the vanilla into this and then let it run for about maybe another minute or two. Adding in vanilla extract. So it's just been another couple of minutes. Now it looks good. You don't want to also overbeat. It is kind of stiff than the previous stage, and it is also shiny. Beating beyond this is going to make your meringue dry. So we have all the three components ready to get folded. So into the bowl of the yolk, I'm going to start folding in one part of the flour mixture and one part of the meringue, and then fold it together. And I just need to be careful at this stage. So I'm just going to drizzle up the flour and add one part of meringue and then just cut and fold. Just break the whites. Just go to the bottom of the bowl, and during your first addition of the flour and the meringue, you could just leave out some streaks of the white before going on to the second addition. Just going to leave one portion out. Second part of meringue, cut and fold. So with some streaks of white, I am going ahead to the last part of the flour, just drizzling it out, not adding it like as a lump in one part of the batter. Adding in the last portion of the meringue, all of it in. And just being careful not to overfold. And just having the whites and everything combined. The moment you see no streaks of the white and no dry specks of the flour, and the moment you have everything combined together into one homogeneous mixture, and then you are good to go. And you're not supposed to fold furthermore, because you want this to be a thick batter. Like, you know, only the texture of the batter is going to affect the texture of the sponge, because we don't have any baking powder, baking soda, or there is no fat as well, right? So this will be the consistency of the batter that you're going to look at. Anything runnier than this, then your sponge is going to be tough and dense. Now I have a 6-inch sponge ready here. I just want one sponge, and I'm not even going to tote it, and that is what we need. And in case we are going to use this in layered cakes, obviously we could tote it. It is still going to be a really amazing sponge that you could tote it into thin layers and then add it into layered cakes also. Okay, so I'm just going to transfer the batter. I'm just going to level the batter. I'm just going to tap the pan, okay, to get rid of any bigger air bubbles. So this will get baked in the preheated oven at 160 degrees Celsius for about anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes, because we have put it in a single pan, so the baking time is going to be more. But then check when you take it out of the oven. If the top is wobbly, you know you have to put it back into the oven to bake at every 5-minute bursts, and then check it out when the top is not wobbly. A toothpick inserted into the center of the cake comes out clean. I'll do that and get back to show you how the cake got baked. So the Fatless vanilla sponge is baked and beautiful, kind of pillowy, soft right here. I'm just going to show doneness, toothpick coming out clean. I'm just going to transfer this onto the wire rack and then show how it looks. And you know you will be transferring this onto a sheet of cling wrap before freezing it. It's extremely weightless, and that is what we need, because weight is going to come through the soaking with either the milk, like how we are going to use, or otherwise the sugar syrup, just in case. You can see it's like extremely soft and weightless. And then this needs to be cling wrapped and stored in the freezer for a minimum of 4 hours or to even up to overnight. I'll do that and get back to show you how I'm going to assemble and finish making the Leches cake.